As stated previously, I didn't like the GoAnimate presentation because of the watermark sign in the background. I thought it looked really unprofessional, so I'm just going to do a voiceover to read out what I did right. So first of all, I used software such as Photoshop, Premiere Pro, Safari, my camera, Snipping Tool, Pinterest, Glitch, PowerPoint, Excel, and Tumblr. The camera that I did use was a phone camera. It wasn't a video camera. Web-based applications that I used was a YouTube, Blogger, Powtoon, GoAnimate, SurveyMonkey, Facebook, Twitter, games such as Habbo Hotel, Dafont, and Prezi. Hardware that I used was my actual phone to access the softwares used, such as Pinterest. I used a video camera, an SD card, tripod, card reader, and I used the programming language HTML. Anything that I don't discuss, I will discuss later and probably a different type of presentation. Probably because I've got more to say about that. So starting off with software that I used the software Safari in order to access the web-based applications such as YouTube, Blogger, Powtoon, GoAnimate, SurveyMonkey, Facebook, Twitter, Habbo Hotel, and Google. This is a very essential piece of software as I would not be able to access any of the web-based applications otherwise. Although I could download Google Chrome, Firefox, or different search engines as I work on my Mac laptop, Safari is already installed. This is useful as I use a Mac computer at college also, making me more comfortable with the software as it can be very confusing. Not only am I presenting my research throughout using Blogger, but I am also teaching myself too. Firstly, I use YouTube to search my chosen song video. It consisted of narrative and gave me ideas which I could incorporate into my own work. I researched further, looking at other videos within the same genre. I used YouTube to watch tutorials on how to do certain stuff on Final Cut Pro, as this is something we haven't been taught in lessons. I want to be more comfortable using the software and also put the effort into it, not relying on asking my teachers available on how to do little tasks. Mostly, as well, I wanted to be more independent. I use Blogger to record all of my research and manage it into a sophisticated, organised fashion with titles on each blog. I also looked at each of I use Blogger to record all of my research and manage it in a sophisticated, organised fashion with titles on each blog. I also looked at other people's blogs, which gave me influence and also helped me create something more different and original. I use Powtoon, GoAnimate, Prezi, and Habbo Hotel, all with the purpose of presentation. I found Powtoon very useful, however, GoAnimate, which I did use previously, I thought was really annoying because of the background. It looked really unprofessional, whereas Powtoon was useful because it gave me the ability to organise it in a really good manner, and it also looked quite interesting. You could choose a lot of different styles. It just depended basically on what you wanted. It was really versatile. It's also a lot more interesting than a typical PowerPoint and screenshotting the PowerPoint or using it through SlideShare. I used Habbo Hotel as I thought it was more original and differentiated my presentation from others, making my evaluation overall more exciting. I copied the embedded text from the clipboard on the following, Powtoon, GoAnimate, and Prezi, and pasted it into the programming language HTML, adding a space. So I basically used this language to organise it more effectively. This is how I was taught it from one of the computer technicians. I'm not sure if this is how everyone else does it, but I know this is quite useful for me because I basically put arrows in the thing, so I had to be more sufficient, so I had to be more like precise, because if I uploaded it to the wrong section, it wouldn't upload altogether, so I had to make sure it was in the exact place it was supposed to be. I use Facebook, Twitter, and SurveyMonkey to find out more information around audiences, although not only did I use them to complete my audience research task, but I also used them throughout my planning and research, creating continuity throughout my work. Software again, because I was using 2 different laptops originally because I got my Mac at Christmas, so at first I was using my Toshiba laptop, which I actually had a snipping tool on, which ultimately does the same as the Command, Shift and the number 4 button on a Mac, which I found out how to do by Googling because I had no idea at first. It's a lot more useful than the normal print screen because you can basically crop it to whatever size you want. You don't have to, you just screen drag what section you want. You don't have to crop it afterwards, which can be really time consuming, so this managed my time a lot better. It also, on the Mac, doing the Command Shift 4 saved automatically to my desktop, which was really useful. This also saved, again, a lot of time. However, with the snipping tool, this was a lot better if I was presenting something because I could use the circle tool, like the pen tool, and create a red circle. Because usually the text was black anyway, the red is a very dominant colour against black and white, making it easier to understand. I used the snipping tool a lot on the web-based application Google, as I thought it was very effective looking at search results, and it gives you a broad understanding of universal interpretations. For example, when typing in alternative rocklers, which I did, results came up which were very similar to each other, suggesting how there is a universal connotations on the clothes worn. This is good for looking at contrasting genres, discussing how each have different ideologies, whether that includes the clothing they wear or what stereotypes and labels they adopt. They all have different connotations. Pinterest is also good software as it is full of images. You can search specific tags and it gives you the results based on that tag. Another useful software I found was Tumblr. I used Tumblr in my spare time. When I was scrolling, I came across an image which made me question how it was edited, giving me inspiration and influenced me in my own work. Another software which gave me influence that I used in my spare time is Glitch. Glitch is an editing app that I have on my phone. I use this app to create the effect of my final piece, which I then did develop onto Photoshop, adding layers, changing the opacity, cropping the image, adding text from the web-based application, the font. I used the font to look at contrasting styles of text. I found this style I wanted by using the search engine Google again. I use Google as its most popular search engine. Not many people use, for example, Bing. I use the Sony CX410 video camera to shoot my footage. I did have an email confirming my booking, which I was going to show, but I accidentally deleted it. I was unsure on how to use the camera at first, so I asked for verbal advice of one of the technicians which supported me. I also used a tripod to hold the camera, an SDHD card to store the memory on, and a card reader to transfer the footage onto the Mac computer. I had several problems trying to attach the camera onto the tripod, so I searched onto Google and played around with the hardware and eventually got quite used to it. I borrowed the camera overnight, so I had quite a good space of time to experiment with different shots, what works well and what does not. I took a lot of footage, which I'm very glad about because a lot of people had to go back to their location and refilm, where I did not have this problem as I had a lot of footage to experiment with. I soon realised I didn't really need the tripod. I wanted my footage to be handheld to create a chaotic effect, representing connotations linked with my artist who was under the influence of drugs and alcohol. I use my phone in order to access software such as Pinterest, Glitch, and the camera. These are only accessible through my phone. I use my phone in order to access software such as Pinterest, Glitch, and the camera. These are only accessible through my phone, and I then use a USB cable to transfer data onto my laptop. In fact, I use my phone in order to access software such as Pinterest, Glitch, and the camera. These are only accessible through my phone, and I then use a USB cable to transfer data onto the school computers. I realise now it would have been a lot more useful if I actually transferred the data onto my laptop and maybe downloaded the software, but at the time that's what was available, so that's what I did. I also actually don't think that I had my laptop at the time, so this was the best way to do it. I had problems with the SDHD card and card reader, as some videos did not fully upload to YouTube. I had to re-upload again, not only to find that none of my files had actually saved. Luckily, they were not massively important, but they could have been useful. For example, I interviewed the Mediate technician on his last day, which I could never get back. His advice and professional knowledge was very useful and informative. As the SDHC cards get wiped every night, I believe, this made it impossible for me to get back my data.